When I met James, he seemed like everything I ever wanted in a man. He was charming, confident, with that quiet kind of charisma that didn't need to demand attention. It just commanded it naturally. We met at a bookstore, both reaching for the same copy of a vintage photography book, and laughed when our hands touched. It felt like fate had arranged it, like something out of a movie. He offered to buy me coffee, and I accepted without hesitation. That first conversation flowed like we'd known each other forever. He asked thoughtful questions, really listened, and made me laugh in a way I hadn't laughed in a long time. I walked away from that coffee shop with butterflies in my stomach, not knowing that what began so sweetly would eventually unravel into something so complicated. We started dating almost immediately. James was attentive and romantic, always bringing me little surprises or planning thoughtful dates. He seemed to already know what I liked. At first, I thought he was just very intuitive. On our third date, he took me to a secluded beach at sunset, packed a picnic, and even brought my favorite wine. I remember asking how he knew I liked that brand, and he smiled and said he just had a good guess. I didn't think much of it then. I was too taken with the way he looked at me like I was the only woman in the world. After a few months, James invited me to move into his house. It felt fast, but when you're in love, everything feels like it's on fast forward. His home was beautiful, tucked into the hills, with huge windows and tasteful minimalistic decor. But there was one room that felt different from the rest, a small office on the second floor, which he kept locked. He told me it was where he did freelance consulting work and liked to keep it private. I respected that. At first, living with James started off like a dream. He made me feel special, wanted, cherished. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to change. He started making small suggestions about my appearance. "You'd look amazing with lighter hair," he said one morning as I applied my makeup. I didn't think much of it. I'd been considering highlights anyway. When I returned from the salon a week later with soft blonde streaks, his smile was so wide, it almost looked forced. "Perfect," he said, and kissed me on the forehead. A few days later, he bought me a new wardrobe, flowy dresses, delicate lace tops, and pastel colors I'd never usually wear. He said they'd look stunning on me, and I wore them to make him happy. He began encouraging me to wear a particular perfume, one I didn't love, but he said it drove him crazy. I brushed off my discomfort because I loved him, and relationships are about compromise, right? But it didn't stop there. He started suggesting I wear my makeup differently, softer tones, more emphasis on my eyes. He bought me new lipstick shades and told me how to style my hair. One night, I overheard him talking in his sleep. He said a name I'd never heard before, Rachel. The next morning, I asked him who Rachel was. He froze for a second, then laughed and said it must have been a dream about an old coworker. I didn't press him, though a little voice in my head told me not to believe him. Weeks passed, and his suggestions turned into requests, and eventually, into expectations. He didn't just want me to wear the dresses. He wanted me to wear that dress, the floral one with the off-shoulder sleeves. He wanted my hair exactly curled, with a side part, and my lipstick to be a specific rose shade. One evening, he got visibly upset when I wore jeans and a hoodie for movie night. "You just don't look like yourself," he said. But I was myself. He just didn't seem to want me anymore. My suspicions grew. I started noticing subtle things around the house, photographs in drawers, handwritten notes, and a name etched faintly into a wooden keepsake box in the closet, Rachel. The locked office door kept nagging at me, until one afternoon when James left to run errands and forgot to lock it. My heart pounded as I turned the knob. Inside, I found what looked like a shrine. Photos of a woman who looked eerily like me. Same blonde hair, same dresses, same perfume bottle on a shelf. Only she wasn't me. She was Rachel. There were letters, photo albums, and even recordings of songs she liked. I felt like I had stepped into a part of James's life he had tried to bury, only to dig up again using me. I sat on the floor of that office for hours, reading letters that James had written to Rachel. She had been his fiancée, and from what I gathered, She had passed away in a car accident 2 years ago. They'd been together for 5 years. It was clear he had loved her deeply, but it was also clear he hadn't let her go. That night, when he returned, I confronted him. At first, he denied everything. Then he broke down. He admitted it all. How he saw glimpses of Rachel in me the day we met. How he thought if he could love someone who reminded him of her, it would hurt less. How he slowly tried to guide me into becoming her without me noticing. He said he didn't mean to hurt me. That he just missed her so much, and when he met me, it felt like a second chance. I was numb, hurt, angry. But more than anything, I felt lost. Who was I in this relationship? A partner, or a placeholder for a ghost? I told him I needed space, packed a bag, and left that night to stay with my sister. In the days that followed, James sent long texts, trying to explain, apologizing repeatedly, begging me to come back. He said he would go to therapy, that he needed help, that he realized what he had done was wrong. It took time for me to sort through everything I was feeling. I loved James. Or at least I thought I did. But love built on deception isn't love. It's illusion. I saw a therapist, too, to help me untangle the emotional confusion he had left me with. It wasn't just about him wanting to change me. It was about how I allowed it, excused it, and silenced my own discomfort to make someone else happy. Eventually, James and I spoke one last time. He looked tired, hollow. He told me he was going to take some time to really heal and understand his grief. I wished him well, but I knew I couldn't be part of that process. I needed to be with someone who saw me, really me, not a reflection of someone they had lost. Not someone they were trying to recreate. Months later, I dyed my hair back to its natural color. I donated the dresses he gave me and threw away the perfume bottle. I started painting again, something I had stopped doing because James didn't like the smell of paint in the house. I traveled, met new people, and slowly began to rebuild my confidence. I learned that love should never ask you to lose yourself. That grieving someone is human, but dragging another person into your unfinished grief is unfair. Now, when I walk into bookstores, I still smile when I see couples reaching for the same book. But I no longer see it as a sign from the universe. I see it as a choice. A beginning that only works when both people are choosing each other. Not a memory, not a shadow, not someone else's echo. Just each other, as they truly are. And I'll never settle for anything less again.